Hi, I'm Juliana Korver. I am the current Freestyle Players Association World Champion in both women's pairs and mixed pairs. I am the current WIFDIF overall World Champion, and I'm a 5-time former PDGA World Champion. You're with me here and Gatekeeper Media. We're going to do a mic'd up practice round at the fort. Let's get started. Okay, hole 1. Blind water on the first shot. Not my favorite. It's pretty hard to get to this one, even though you can see the basket. There's a lot of little stuff that's in the way. So I'm not trying to be aggressive. I'm just trying to be safe. Well, that's no good. Let's try that again. This is my 3rd time playing this course. We are at a little bit of elevation, around 4,000 feet. It does affect the discs. Still trying to calibrate how that affects my line. That's fine. I'm quite certain that's over the water. Didn't really care for that one. Awfully high. I usually throw incredibly low, but even this tiny little berm makes me put the disc way up in the air, which of course means it's going to hyzer out. Surprised this one ended up as nice as it did. I thought it was in the junk. There's water directly behind this pin. So you do not want to go long on your approach. It's very unlikely that I'm going to make it through this gap, but why not try? I would not have taken that line in an event, but not much harm done. Okay, it's kind of an intimidating start because of the blind water, but it's also not one that I expect to get a birdie on, and provided that you stay safe, it should be a somewhat simple par. Now, I've played this course twice, and both times I played it solo, so I was under the impression that the island was just what is inside of the logs around the basket, which gives you about a 12-foot radius around the basket, which I thought was excessive or awfully demanding. And then I found out that it is not, in fact, the logs. It is just being on the land. So much easier mentally going for this one than, well, not that you wouldn't go for it, because you have to go for an island. There's no layup. So I'm throwing very old, very beat up, very loved AVR putt and approach. The goal is to get it high enough to get over the log, low enough to get it under the limbs, and then whatever happens, happens. Okay, in practice, I usually have to prove good shots to myself. That was a decent shot. It wasn't great, could be straighter. That one felt a little better. The fact that I don't see my disc yet seems like a good sign. I guess technically this would be legal. If you don't make the island, which would mean water or road, there is a drop zone. If the drop zone's tricky, it's a good idea to throw a shot from there. I wouldn't call this tricky. It's too far for me for a putt. I think probably most of the division would attempt to putt this. I would lay up, and I don't believe that that layup is one that I need to practice. Hole 3, 258 feet. This is the blue tee. The men play from an elevated tee behind us. Basket is just tucked off to the right, but there's really no need to throw a disc that turns right, because if you can throw straight, you can put it within 20 feet of the basket. That is not the line that I wanted. So that's a lucky get close to the basket. I wanted to be on the left side of those trees, so I'm going to throw it again. I'm throwing my Star Mako 3. That's what I threw on the last one as well. Well, it's closer to what I wanted. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to throw my Atlas as well. That's kind of where I wanted to go into that grouping. So to give you a little history about my Worlds experience, my first pro World tournament was in 1996, and I believe I took 8th place. My first PDJ Pro Worlds win was in 1998. Then, let's see, the last Worlds that I played would have been in 2006. And that was pretty much when I stopped competing. I had no intention whatsoever of playing this event up until about a month ago. So it's a bizarre feeling for me to be here last minute, because you don't do a World Championships last minute. You prepare for years, or at least a year, mentally, and game plan and expectations and everything. And I have done none of that this year, which is, again, novel. Maybe a little refreshing too, because then hopefully I won't put expectations on myself, which I have a tendency to do. And then also realistically, as a 50-year-old who's been behind the desk for the last 12 years, the expectations that my former self might want to put on my current self are not really realistic. So I am hoping that I can focus on the journey and enjoying the ride and just being grateful that I can still be out here playing. Of course I want to do well. Of course I'm going to try to do well. I think there's a possibility I can do well. But it's mostly about the experience. Okay, I threw 3 shots. The first Mako was the lucky one that went through there. This one almost hit the line I wanted. Sorry, laughing because I don't really have any business hitting that right now. But of course, now it goes in. Okay, prove it. This one would be nice, but it actually annoys me quite a bit when a shot that isn't on the line I wanted gets close to the basket. As I mentioned, I've practiced this course twice already, and when I play a course for the first time, I typically do voice-to-text notes to myself, but I don't have notes until hole 5, so we'll get to those shortly. This is hole 4, 530 feet, turns to the left. You do not want your first shot to go left. You need to keep going straight for a better angle at the basket. Going to go a little left. I think it's probably going to be well, it's in a good spot now. I think even if it hadn't hit that tree and it had hyzered out, it'd still be okay. I'm throwing pretty slow discs, both because of the elevation and because of the tightness of the holes. That's what I want. I don't have a sense for how far I need to throw this one to be able to go around the corner. I don't think it makes a huge amount of difference. I can't see the pin yet. This isn't an unlikely place for me to end up, so I'm gonna throw from both this and the other shot. Mainly, I'm still just trying to calibrate and see what discs for the different distances in the potential landing zones. So I'm going to throw my Mako here on hyzer and hopefully have it flatten out as it goes around that corner. That's probably right side of what I want, but should be decent. So basically I'm gonna do the same thing I did from that previous lie, a little less hyzer because the turn is less severe from here. Again, a little bit wider than I wanted, but hopefully the basket is easy from both of those locations, easy to access. I like these shots. This reminds me of actually accuracy in the overall. Oh, that's a little hot. There is water on the right side. And yeah, that one's still certainly in circle one, but at this distance, if I'm not 10 feet from the pin after that shot, I'm not happy. This is a tweener distance for me. I'm not strong enough to putt this. I kind of fake go for it with like a jump putt, which I will, or a step through putt, which I'll try here, but I'm still trying to figure out how far out I can be and put that under the pin. I really have no intention at all of getting that high enough that it will go in. I'm just trying to find an easy way to put it under the pin. And this is so close that if I do that shot that I did from the previous one, it might be a little hard to not overthrow it. And you may notice that I'm not standing directly behind. If it's a challenging putt, then sure. If it's where it should be, right there, then I'll back up a little bit to make it mean a little bit more. Okay, this is hole 5. This is where my notes start. And clearly I have not read through my notes yet because it says throw a kite. There is no such thing as a kite that I'm aware of. That means kite. I'm supposed to throw a kite. This hole, when I see a target, my first 2 throws on this hole during my first practice round, one of them hit the target and the other one was just to the right of the target. I couldn't get myself to not throw at the target. So as I'm standing on this tee, I am going to be telling myself, throw it in the air, throw it high, throw it in the air. But I tell myself that a lot because I throw low a lot. So this is similar to the last hole, but the corner is much closer to the tee. Both the Mako and the kite are good options here. Let's try them both. Throw it in the air. Okay, I want that a little bit to the right. Even though the hole turns to the left, ending to the right on this one gives you a little bit better angle. Oh, that's too much. Okay, yeah, I didn't deserve a good shot there. That was not the line. Let's try this again. I think that'll be okay. This is similar to the previous shot. Throw a hyzer, have it come out of it, but I don't have the room or the strength to get there, especially with this funky run up. So I'm just gonna try to be clean around the corner so I've got a good approach. Yeah, I really want to be closer than this. No, that one's left. This is hole 6, 324 feet. You can see the basket from the tee. It looks like you kind of want to go straight at it, but I actually like the right route. There are bushes 2/3 of the way down. They're very, very thin. You'll probably spit through them if you hit them. But I think going over them and staying on the right side allows you to penetrate farther down the fairway before you hit one of those random trees. Well, I meant that to be about 10 feet to the right. It got through on the left gap. Somewhat lucky. Oh no, got enough power on it. Didn't really pull it. That was just ugly. I like this tee box, kind of makes me feel like I'm in a tree house, which is definitely a comfort zone for me. Grew up in trees as a kid. So there's an obvious gap. This is 345 feet, par 3 of course, hole 7. And main thing is just to get it through that gap and then let it fall off left, and you may end up with a putt, or you'll have a very simple 3 most likely. I come at this from the left side to the middle of the fairway, or to the middle of the tee pad, to try to get the line better through that opening. Little right. Don't like it. Don't like it at all. That's going to be a hard 3. Okay. I need to get around those 2 big mature trees and have it fall off left, but it's not a very long shot, so throwing the AVRX here. Yeah, that's about all I can do from there. Okay, this hole, 310 feet through the gap. See the Y tree? My ideal shot comes just to the right of that, straight, turning, doesn't really matter. I'm not going for the pin. I'm just trying to get out in the open. And in fact, I throw a putter here because I have the best line with that disc. Feels like you shouldn't say I've got the best line with anything right before you try to throw a tight shot like this. Okay, I'm fine with that. Would have rather had it a little higher, but not upset. That should be a very straightforward second shot. Let's try it again. Once again, just as low, same spot. Again, fine with it. Okay, I like this location. Just have to pop it over that fence. This basket is raised, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So nose up to put the brakes on, get it over the fence and drop it right by the basket. Either the blue AVRXs or these old school red DX AVR putt approaches should be fine. Hole 9, this is another one, tunnel shot, though slightly more generous on the fairway size, and then it ends up, you turn the corner left. My notes say to stay to the right side on my first shot to have a better look at getting around the corner. The basket, when we get there, is behind a mound on the right-hand side. Let's see, what do I want to throw? Let's try this Holly Finley Roadrunner again. It's a good example of me throwing low, and though that might look terrible to some, I'm not really upset with that height. Ideally, I want to be 50, 80 feet farther down the fairway than this to have a good look at the corner, but you know, realistically, I'm not getting a 3 on this hole anyway, so it doesn't make that much difference if I can turn this corner and keep it in the fairway. So I'm not going for distance on this one, I'm going for placement. It's a blind hyzer, and I'm just going to try to put myself in a position where I've got a clean next shot. I think that might be a little wide. I'll try that again. Throw in my putter here. That's what I threw on the last one as well. There, that's better. Might be wide side too. If I go under the limb, I can't get my putter there. If the limb wasn't there, I could get my putter there. So I'm going to disc up, try to throw a Mako, and see if I can get there going under that limb. That wasn't so bad. Maybe a little farther. Oh, actually, I was looking at the wrong mound, so I had much farther to go. Putter would not have been the right disc, even if that limb was not in my way. In fact, I'm going to make a note of that right now, so this doesn't happen again. Even though I need to turn this over significantly, I'm throwing the more overstable putter so that it comes back out of the turn and hopefully lands flatter. I think that was what I wanted. So they're not in the automatic, I'm happy because it's within 10 feet range, but given the level of difficulty, that range extends a bit, and I can walk away feeling good about those two. Thanks for hanging out with me on the front nine with Gatekeeper Media. Please join me for the back nine on Innova's channel.